2025 was maybe one of the worst years for humanity in recent memory, but thankfully it did give us a lot of great films. From new hits from acclaimed film directors, to new beloved entries in blockbuster franchises, to unexpected gems that came out of nowhere, 2025 has been a great year for cinema, and I'm here now to rank all the films I saw this year from worst to best. This video is going to be slightly different from the film ranking I put out at the end of last year. For one thing, I watched a lot less new films this year than I did in 2024, only watching a minuscule 18 new movies instead of the 50 plus I somehow managed to squeeze in last time. Additionally, I'm not going to be doing an unscripted tier list this time around. Instead, this video is going to be a more straightforward ranking of the films from worst to best, which I think should make for a more entertaining video. Before we begin though, I want to quickly shout out some of the films I didn't see this year that I thought were worth mentioning. I really wanted to watch Sentimental Value when it was just an accident, but unfortunately no cinema near me was playing them, so I sadly had to miss them. I also skipped out on a lot of the highest grossing films this year for one reason or another. No Zootropolis, no Avatar, and none of those live action remakes that plagued this year. I could have watched Jurassic World Rebirth, since some of the members of my family went to see it, but I ultimately went to see something different that day and wasn't bothered with seeing it otherwise. I haven't seen a single episode of either Demon Slayer or Chainsaw Man, so I unsurprisingly didn't see either of their respective movies this year, though I did hear the Reze arc was pretty good. I didn't see any of the new Marvel films at all, nor do I have any intention to in the future outside of any Spider-Man related films. I might watch 28 Years Later at some point in the future, what with the Bone Temple coming out soon, but I don't feel like delaying this video any further just to include it. Finally, me and some friends did make plans to go see the FNAF 2 movie together, but ultimately those plans fell through. Though to be fair, if I had included FNAF on this list, it probably would have been last place given these reviews and how bad the first film was. Okay, now that we have all that stuff out of the way, let's get started talking about the films I actually did see this year. There were a lot of great films that I saw in 2025, with only one film being outright bad, so it was quite difficult deciding the exact order to put them in. In the end though, I've decided on a ranking that I mostly feel alright with. Bear in mind, this is all just my opinion, so you're free to disagree with me if you want. Without further ado though, let's begin with the ranking. Oh, also, one last thing. At the time of me writing this script, I still haven't seen Hamnet yet, though I do ultimately plan on including it in the ranking. It'll probably be given its own unscripted segment wherever I end up placing it, so just bear in mind that everything I say here was written before taking Hamnet into consideration. Okay, now on with the video. To absolutely no one's surprise, a Minecraft movie easily takes the bottom spot on this list as the worst film I've seen this year, and the only one I'd actively call a bad movie. Though, with that being said, even though the film's quality is objectively not very good, I also don't hate it that much. Nor do I feel like going too in depth here on why the film is bad, since I already made a review for it when it came out that you can go watch if you want my full thoughts. There is definitely a lot I could talk about, but I think earnestly trying to critique and analyze the flaws of a Minecraft movie would just be a big waste of time, since, you know, it's the Minecraft movie. It's not exactly trying to be anything other than a silly, schlocky, cash grab film made for kids and adults who still wish they were kids. It's not worth the effort of a full analysis or breakdown. If you've seen the film, which if you're watching this video, you probably have, it's pretty easy to identify what makes it bad. I think you can definitely enjoy this from an ironic point of view. There is a lot of so bad it's good appeal here that makes it a tolerable experience. Plus, if nothing else, the film did give us some pretty good memes back when it came out, so that's pretty cool. At the end of the day though, even if it can be an enjoyable watch, the film is still bad. And part of me thinks that Minecraft should have gotten a much better first film adaptation that didn't have such lazy writing and characters, given how special the game is to me and so many others. But then again, it did give us the musical masterpiece that is Lava Chicken, so maybe it was all worth it in the end. Regardless, now that I've finished talking about this movie for the second time on this channel, we have now talked about every outright bad film I watched this year. Yeah, there was only one. Every other film I watched this year ranged from mid to brilliant, with Minecraft being the only actual dud. Now that that's over and done with, we can start talking about the actually good films that came out this year. But before we can get on to the best films this year had to offer, we do have to go through two more films that I thought were middle of the road compared to the rest of the stuff I watched. Starting with If you saw my video where I ranked all the new films I saw last year, you'll know that the original Wicked film turned out to be one of my favourite films of 2024. Although I'd never seen the original musical before, nor had I ever seen anything Wizard of Oz related before, surprisingly, I ended up falling in love with the characters, the story, and especially its songs. So of course, I was very excited to see how the story would wrap up in the sequel, Wicked for Good. However, as the release date for the film drew closer, I saw a lot of people online say that they had problems with, or outright disliked the story in the second half of the original Wicked musical, which was the part that For Good was adapting, and I got a little bit nervous. When the film finally came out, I went into it with an open mind, hoping that while I may not like it as much as the first film, I would at the very least still like it. And now that I've seen it, as much as I really wanted to like it, I can kinda understand the criticisms people have of the second half of the story. Overall, Wicked for Good is a pretty disappointing sequel to the first film, but that's not to say it doesn't have its moments. There is still a lot here worthy of praise, and I want to go over all of the stuff I liked about it first before moving on to my criticisms. To begin with, a lot of what was great about the first film is still here, thankfully. The costume and production design is still fantastic, and all the actors are still giving good performances, with Cynthia and Ariana naturally being the highlights. The songs are obviously all great, even the new ones they made just for this movie. I'm also very satisfied with how they handled Glinda's character and how they concluded her story. She's easily the best character in the film, and probably my favourite character in the entire story. Lastly, I also think the film looks pretty decent, which might be strange to hear because the number one criticism I hear from people online about these movies is that the colour grading and lighting are really bad. If I'm being honest though, while I can certainly see where these people are coming from, I don't necessarily fully agree with this take. There are certainly shots where I can see the criticism, but most of these shots are the exception and not the rule. Most of the film is colour graded and lit just fine, and there are even a few moments where they're really good. In my opinion, I think this criticism is largely over-exaggerated, though I'm not saying the problem doesn't exist at all. Unfortunately, this is where my positives end, and now I've got to start getting into the stuff I didn't like, and what makes this, in my opinion, a huge downgrade from the first film. All my main issues come down to the writing of the source material, and how sloppy it can be at times. For the most part, the plot of this film feels really dumb and contrived. It felt like there were very simple and easy solutions to the main conflict that the characters simply didn't do for whatever reason, in order to drag out the plot and clunkily connect it to the events of The Wizard of Oz. Logic and character consistency be damned. Elphaba is easily the most powerful character in the story, and it will be very easy for her to use that power effectively to achieve her primary goal. But she almost never does, and instead goes about solving things in a much more impractical way, making her look kinda dumb in the process. The pacing of the film is also super fast, and sometimes that's not a good thing, as there's very little time to catch your breath in between plot beats. I also don't really like one aspect of the ending, which I won't spoil since the film is still relatively new. Finally, the character writing here is a mixed bag. As I've already mentioned, Glinda is written pretty well, but Elphaba and Fiyero aren't handled nearly as well in my opinion. The Wizard and Madame Morrible are also kinda bad antagonists in this, coming off as very incompetent a lot of the time. In conclusion, I really want to like Wicked for Good, and I really do like the parts of it that work, but there's so much baggage in the plot and in the writing that hold it back for me. As is, while I wouldn't call it bad, I don't think I would call it all that good either, and the more I think about it, the less I like it. I still really like that first film though. The Phoenician Scheme, which follows a wealthy businessman trying to secure the future of his empire and hand it off to his only daughter, is the most recent film from Wes Anderson, a director known for films like The Grand Budapest Hotel, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and Asteroid City, and his incredibly unique visual style. With this in mind, it's no surprise that his newest feature is visually stunning, even if some of his past films have looked a little better. Most shots are framed in very unique ways, and are complemented with great, almost pastel-like color palettes that give the film a distinct visual identity. The sets, props, and costumes being captured on film are also incredibly intricate and well designed, with the sets in particular leaning very hard into Anderson's fantastical style, which in and of itself is something I can give the film praise for. It's probably one of the best looking movies of 2025. However, although I adore how it looks, where the film loses me a bit is with the story. As much as I tried, I just couldn't really get invested in it and found it largely uninteresting and boring. There are definitely some great ideas here, like with the relationship between the protagonist and his daughter and how it's explored, but they weren't enough to grab me. The characters also don't leave much of an impression, and the film overall isn't as funny as I was hoping it would be. That's not to say there aren't any good jokes though. The whole scuffle between Benicio del Toro and Benedict Cumberbatch's characters at the end was very entertaining. Overall, I liked a lot about the Phoenician scheme, but I also wished when leaving the cinema that other parts of it impressed me as much as the visuals did. While I'm very glad that most people who've seen it seem to have enjoyed it, for me, it's just an okay film, bordering on good. Speaking of things that are good, we've now reached the point in the list where every film I speak about going forward is at the very least good. An indicator for how good the overall output for this year was. Without further ado, let's continue with the ranking. I remember how much everyone was raving about Weapons when it first came out, and while I do think it's a little overrated personally, it's nonetheless a really good horror movie. Sure, there are some areas for improvement, like with the characters, who I thought weren't the most well written, but otherwise, the film excels at what it sets out to do. The film tells the story of the fictional town of Maybrook, Pennsylvania, and what happens to the town's residents after 17 primary school students, all from the same class, mysteriously vanish one night. It's got a great premise and a unique format, as well as a tight script that naturally drip feeds you information over the film's runtime about the mystery it centers. The cinematography and editing can also be really sharp, and there are plenty of great and effective moments of horror. The ending also slaps, being one of the most entertaining and deliciously gruesome final sequences of the year. By far the best part of the film though are the performances. Everyone's already said their piece about Amy Madigan as Gladys, and she's definitely great and unsettling in this. But the other actors aren't pulling their punches either. Josh Brolin gives a quiet but moving performance as a lost father desperately trying to find their missing son. But I think the real star of the show here for me was surprisingly Carrie Christopher as Alex. For being such a young actor, he sells the terror and pain his character feels really effectively, and it helped immerse me in his struggle even more. Altogether, Weapons is an effective horror flick that I really enjoyed, though I wouldn't say it's anywhere near one of my absolute favourites of the year, quite like it is for some. Mickey 17 was the first new film that I watched this year, and while it's definitely been surpassed by a lot more recent releases, I still really like it nonetheless. Adapted from a novel by Edward Ashton, the film is about the titular Mickey Barnes, an employee aboard a space expedition to colonize a foreign planet who is part of the Expendables program, where human beings are cloned repeatedly so that they can carry out dangerous, life-threatening jobs without the risk of permanent death. One day, Mickey's mundane life is turned upside down when he discovers that another clone of him has accidentally been created while he was still alive, in an event that will change the course of this expedition forever. Directed by Bong Joon-ho, known for directing Parasite as well as a personal favourite of mine, Snowpiercer, the film is unsurprisingly well directed, and the cinematography is also pretty good too. The production design of the spaceship the characters are on is also a highlight, and in general, the characters are all pretty likeable. Robert Pattinson does a great job at playing the multiple different versions of Mickey, and is a standout in a year with a surprising number of dual roles in film and TV. The film is also a commentary on a lot of different things, mainly modern day capitalism and how lower class workers are treated as disposable. And while I like the commentary and think it's done relatively well, it is very in your face and unsubtle a lot of the time. I feel like if it was delivered in a slightly less unsubtle way, then the film would have been even better. As is though, Mickey 17 is still great, and one of the most underrated films released this year in my opinion. Jay Kelly was probably the biggest surprise of this year for me. because I went into it expecting it to be good, but nothing amazing, and ended up liking it a lot more than I was expecting to. It's nothing groundbreaking or anything, but I certainly think it's a lot better than most people are giving it credit for. It's about a famous movie actor, the titular Jay Kelly, going on a journey of self-discovery in Italy with his manager Rob, as they each come to their own conclusions about what their lives have meant up to now, and where they should move next, and there's a lot to like about it. Firstly, I really like the way the film looks. The cinematography is pretty good all round, but the real stars of the show are the lighting and colour grading. The film makes use of a lot of blues and golds, as well as other vibrant colours as well, and they make each scene pop in a way that keeps your eyes glued to the screen, not to mention how well lit each shot is. It's stuff like this that make Jay Kelly a visual treat to look at. Additionally, the story and characters are pretty solid. Jay Kelly himself goes through a pretty good arc about accepting his past decisions and appreciating the overlooked parts of his life. All while Ron is struggling with his own life choices, and whether the decision to spend so much of his life serving Kelly is the right one. I have heard some people complain that the film didn't focus on Ron enough, saying that he should have been the main character since his story is more interesting. And although I don't personally agree with this opinion, I can sort of understand why someone would think that. It didn't bother me much though, since I found the film to be compelling either way. It's another underrated film on this list. And while it's certainly not one of my top films of 2025, it should still be given its flowers regardless. Train Dreams is a film that unfortunately does not actually have anything to do with trains. Boo! Nah, instead it's just some lame film about a broken man trying to find new purpose and meaning in his life and the world around him after tragedy in early 20th century America. How disappointing. I wanted to see trains. No, but seriously, Train Dreams is great. It's beautiful in both senses of the word. On the one hand, it's one of those films that reminds you how wonderful life can be at times, as well as how devastating and painful it can be at others, making you feel deep emotions when watching. And on the other hand, I mean, it literally is just beautiful to look at. At times, the cinematography is so good, it almost feels like the film crew only made this as an excuse to flex how good they are at nature photography. The main character's journey throughout the film is also so well done, with each new person he meets expanding his understanding of his life and the world, before it all culminates in a powerful ending. Yeah, there's honestly not much else to say. It's just a really good film. It might not be for everyone, as it can be a bit slow at times, but I think those who'd be willing to let the film take its time will get a lot out of it. Wake Up Dead Man is a film I only grow to appreciate more with time, even though I do think it's probably the weakest out of the 3 Knives Out films. To get things started, I'll briefly go over a couple issues I have with it, just to get them out of the way. Firstly, as a murder mystery movie, it's not quite as good as the OG Knives Out or Glass Onion, with the mystery itself being a little uninteresting at times. And secondly, the supporting cast of potential suspects is also incredibly underwhelming. Some of them have solid moments, but most of the time they're not interesting, and at worst they feel like downgrades of character archetypes we've seen in the previous films. Thankfully, the main characters are a lot better, which is where we can start talking about this film's many positive aspects. The protagonist of this film is Father Judd Duplessis? Is that how you pronounce it? Duplessis? That's how okay. Whose development throughout the film is really compelling, as he grapples with his faith and what the best approach to it is. A theme reflected throughout the film's story. Supporting him, as always, is Benoit Blanc, who's more realized as a character here than he's ever been before, going through a satisfying arc of his own like Judd. Opposite them is the fiery Monsignor Jefferson Wicks, who works as an effective example of how someone can twist and manipulate others' faith for their own benefit. And his fellow church member Martha these are all really weird names. Delacroix? Okay, sure, we're just gonna go with that. Is also a pretty interesting character too. All of them have really good writing, and the performances from each actor are notable too. I've already mentioned Josh Brolin once in this video, and he once again does a great job here, but the standouts here are obviously Daniel Craig and Josh O'Connor. Moving on to the story, while it underwhelmed me a bit as a murder mystery, As a religious drama, I think it works quite well. Even as an atheist, I appreciated how the film handles the subject of religion and what it means to different people, as well as I've already mentioned, how it can be twisted. The direction in the film is also notable. It's done in a different style to how it is in the previous Knives Out films, and while I don't like this new style as much as the old one, it still definitely has its moments. Finally, while it took a little while to grow on me, the humour here is good. I wasn't laughing as much as I was when I watched the other Knives Outs, but there are still a ton of great bits here. Overall, Wake Up Dead Man is a really fun time. Even at its weakest, the Knives Out series still manages to be great over half a decade since it began. If there's one film that's come out this year that I've been obsessed with more than all the others, it's easily been K-pop Demon Hunters. The newest feature from Sony Pictures Animation, it absolutely took over the world when it came out a few months back, and its cultural dominance since has been absolutely deserved. In case you've somehow never heard of this movie, K-pop Demon Hunters is about a K-pop girl group named Huntrix, made up of Rumi, Mira, and Zoe, who are also secretly demon hunters who protect Korea from soul-sucking demons sent to the surface by an entity known as Guimar. The film follows them as they face their newest obstacle, a demon boy band sent by Guimar to steal their fans, as well as battle their own individual insecurities. Honestly, it's hard to know where to even begin with this film, because man, does it do so many things right. I guess I'll start with the thing I've been obsessively listening to ever since the movie came out, the soundtrack. They absolutely cooked with this song selection. It's so rare for a film soundtrack to have so many absolute bops, and yet absolutely zero misses at the same time. All the songs, from beginning to end, are great. How It's Done is an electric opening song, and probably my favourite song in the entire film. Golden is unsurprisingly great, and given how prevalent it's been this year, I shouldn't have to explain why. Soda Pop is addictive and incredibly catchy. Takedown goes so hard. Free, despite being easily the weakest song in my opinion, is still really good. Your Idol is a hypnotic and dangerously excellent villain song. And What It Sounds Like is a fantastic ending song to the film. Every single song here slaps, and if you're curious, this is the order that I would put them in if I were to rank them separately. Moving on from how the film sounds, let's talk about how it looks. The film's animation, clearly inspired by the hybrid style of animation pioneered by Spider-Verse, is full of personality. It's incredibly fluid, there's a ton of cartoony bits that are very effective, there are some breathtaking shots here and there, and the film fully takes advantage of the fact that it's animated to deliver some excellent action scenes. Honestly, one of my only issues with the film is that there aren't more of these action scenes, because the few that we do get are awesome. The camera movement in them, especially in that bathhouse fight, is to die for. My favourite part about the film though is its characters. The three main Huntrix girls are incredibly likeable leads, and although Rumi does get a lot more screen time than the other two, they each have their own distinct personality traits and contribute so much to the film in their own unique way. I also like how the three's friendship is conveyed effortlessly through their dialogue. Even though we only spend a relatively small time with them, you can tell that they've shared a close bond for many years and care a lot for each other. Rumi's journey of accepting herself throughout the film was also very well done, as was Jinu's story and the relationship the two form. The film unfortunately does have a few small issues. It's not completely perfect. The pacing is a little too fast, especially towards the end of the film. I also feel like Celine should have had a lot more screen time. As is, while her scene near the end is effective, it would have been way better if we knew more about her and her relationship to Rumi. Other than that though, I love this movie. I came out of it thoroughly enjoyed and incredibly hungry for more. There are tons of places I'd like to see them go with this franchise in the future, and I can't wait for that sequel they're cooking up. Okay, so you know how earlier in the video I mentioned how I hadn't actually seen Hamnet yet as I was writing the script, and that I would include it at some point in whatever position I would place it in, but I wouldn't do like a scripted segment like with all the other films. I would just do like an unscripted improvised section detailing why I like the film. yeah, this is that section now. This is that segment. This is where I'd place Hamnet in the overall ranking. So, yeah, again, I'm not reading a script or anything. This is just my improvised thoughts on the film. I didn't write the section for it initially because, again, I hadn't seen it, and I don't want to bother writing one because I already started recording the video before I saw it. So yeah, it's this this section's improvised. So yeah, Hamnet. Hamnet is really good, really good. I liked Hamnet a lot. I thought all the performances were really good. Everyone's been talking about Jessie Buckley as the main character, and she was really great in it. Paul Mescal is also good in the supporting role, as are all the kids as well. All of the couples, Shakespeare and Hathaway's kids. They're all really good. Really, all the actors for them do a really good job as well, which again is impressive considering that they're child actors and whatnot. What else? Yeah, the story is really good. It's very compelling, very emotional as well. It's quite powerful. I just like the themes it explores, and it explores them very well. So yeah, the film also looks pretty good. It's got pretty decent cinematography, direction, everything. Yeah, it's a good movie. It's why it's placed so high on the list. If I had to leverage one major complaint, I would say the pacing in the second half is a little too quick for me. Like it's paced very well in like the first half, but after the main event of the story, it kind of picks up and it's a little too fast, and I think it ends a bit abruptly. If I had my way, it'd be paced a little better. But other than that, yeah, it's great. It's a great film. So that's this section done. And now let's move on to number 8 now, which I actually have a script for. Superman was easily my most hyped film of 2025. As a lifelong fan of the character, I couldn't wait for this brand new adaptation that seemed to be bringing the character back to his roots, as well as kickstarting a brand new DCU. And after finally seeing it, I can confidently say that it was worth my excitement. Superman is a really special film, even if it does have a few small issues. I'll get the stuff I didn't like as much out of the way first, so I can spend more time talking about the good stuff. Although the CGI in the film is pretty good for the most part, I do think there are a few notable shots that look a bit rough. The one that sticks out to me the most is a shot near the beginning of the film, where Superman is fighting Ultraman, that genuinely looks kind of awful. It's very distracting. There are a few things I would have liked to see a bit more of, like more scenes of Clark and Lois interacting, and in general just more scenes of a Clark Kent persona. There's barely any of it in the film as is, and it's disappointing because one of my favourite things about the old Superman movies is seeing the contrast between Clark and Superman. Finally, I still think the decision to drop us right in the middle of the action with an opening crawl at the beginning of the film is a little jarring, but it admittedly has grown on me a bit and isn't as bad on rewatch. Okay, now let's get into the good stuff. The cast in this is literally perfect. David Corenswet is Superman. He embodies the character so well on screen, as well as behind the scenes apparently. It's as if he was born to play this role, and he's easily the best Superman actor since Christopher Reeve himself. Rachel Brosnahan, Eddie Gathegi, and even Nathan Fillion are all good in their roles too, but by far the highlight of the film is Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. Absolutely brilliant in every scene he's in. It helps that this is probably the best Lex Luthor we've ever got on screen, because yeah, by the way, this film nails the characters it adapts, especially Supes himself. After years of an inaccurate Superman adaptation being the one featured on the big screen, sorry Snyder fans, it's so refreshing to get an interpretation that nails almost everything about the character, whilst also changing a few things to make for a more compelling story. Speaking of which, the story itself is really good. The plot makes for a really fun superhero flick, and the story delves deeply into themes of hope, identity, and the roles of heroes in our society. And I found it to be really compelling for a film where Superman gets kicked in the balls. The action is also great, with some really dynamic camera movement during the final battle. On top of everything else, the film is really well made. It's shot and directed in a really unique way, a way which I was fully on board with, and it leads to some jaw-dropping sequences, like the black hole scene. The score is surprisingly a highlight too. More importantly than anything else though, this movie contains by far my favourite movie scene of 2025. I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, but all I'll say is, the scene where they raise that flag was absolute cinema. Truly a great film. While it isn't my absolute favourite of the year, it is most definitely the best Superman film of all time. I'll fully admit that I am probably placing this a little higher than most would because of my excellent viewing experience seeing this in a cinema. That may make me view it more positively than I would have if I just watched it at home. But you know what? Screw it, we ball. It's my list, and this film is fire as hell. Despite me never seeing a single F1 race in my entire life, and me still not really having a desire to ever do, I had a great time watching F1 the movie. Mainly due to those damn racing scenes. Oh, those racing scenes. I haven't felt so much adrenaline in a cinema for a long time. They're absolutely exhilarating. You feel the speed and roar of these vehicles as they tear up the track, thanks to the excellent direction and editing, and especially the cinematography. I love how they use the bodies of the cars to create cool shots, like how they did with planes in Joseph Kosinski's previous film, Top Gun Maverick. It's incredibly creative and ingenious. The score by Hans Zimmer also adds so much tension to these already tense scenes, as well as being probably my favourite film score of the year. I haven't even mentioned the sound design yet, one of the film's most impressive technical accomplishments. It absolutely deserves the win for Best Sound at this year's Oscars. Additionally, I like how they show that each race is more than just a test of speed, with our main team incorporating a wide range of strategies in their races to increase the odds of getting good placements and points. That's probably not how any of this stuff works in real life, but it makes the movie more entertaining, so who cares? Altogether, the racing scenes are some of the most blood-pumping action scenes of the year, and they're easily what make F1 such a fun watch. As for the rest of the movie, while it's certainly nothing spectacular or as entertaining as those racing scenes, it's still pretty solid. The story's pretty decent. It's about a former racing legend and an up-and-coming rookie driver as they try to pick their struggling F1 team out of the dumps, all while chasing glory in the process. It's a fairly engaging plot, and the two main characters are good too. They're well written as individual people, but I think them learning to work together as a team and helping refine each other into better people was especially good. If I had to name some problems with the film, I would say that some scenes aren't really necessary, which is the last thing you want in such a long film. The whole subplot about Brad Pitt's romance with Kerry Condon literally doesn't add anything to the plot, and could be cut out entirely without anything changing. It feels like a very forced inclusion that was only left in because this is the movie and we gotta have an underdeveloped hetero romance subplot. Besides that though, this is a great film, and one of the best experiences I've had at the cinema all year. Sinners, in a lot of ways, is the defining film of 2025, and probably one of the defining films of the decade. Out of everything released this year, this is the one that's going to be remembered and analysed for years to come. And for good reason. This film really is something else. It follows two identical twins, named Smoke and Stack, who repurpose a juke joint in Mississippi and invite everyone they know to its grand opening. However, this grand opening would soon be interrupted, as a vampire named Remick has come knocking at their door, and now the twins and their friends need to make sure the devil doesn't get inside with them. It's insane how Ryan Coogler only wrote the script of this in 2 months, because this puts a lot of other film scripts to shame. It's excellently paced, spending so much time in the first half letting you get to know and care for these really well written characters, before bringing them all together in an insane showdown at the end. It's a tough balancing act with such a large cast, but the script manages to make each member leave such a big impression on the viewer. Speaking of the cast, it's absolutely stacked, pun not intended, in terms of talent. It's probably the best ensemble of actors this year. Almost everyone here is giving it their all. Michael B. Jordan plays multiple different characters in this, including the two leads, and he excels at not only playing each one of them individually, but also making each role stand out from each other. It's incredible stuff, and in my opinion, he gives one of the best leading acting performances of the whole year. Miles Caton is also incredible as Sammy, especially considering this is his first ever role in a film. Wunmi Mosaku gives a great supporting performance as Annie, and Jack O'Connell soars as the devilish Remick. And that's only like half the cast. Even the people I didn't mention still did incredible jobs with their characters. It genuinely is that well acted of a film. The movie is also brilliant on a technical level. If it hadn't been for one other movie released this year that I'll talk about later, this would have easily had the best looking cinematography of the entire year in my opinion. It's outstanding, as is the direction and editing, which both feel great. The score is one of my favourites of the year too. Altogether, Sinners is fantastic. Though it doesn't quite crack the top of my personal ranking for this year, if you said this was your favourite film of 2025, I'd find it hard to argue with you. A great movie that I'm sure will be talked about for generations to come. Marty Supreme is about a man who wants to be the best table tennis player in the world more than anything else, and is willing to go through hell and back to get what he wants. On paper, it's a very simple premise, but once you start watching it, you immediately realize this film is a lot more complex than it initially appears. It has an incredibly riveting script, particularly in the dialogue department. Watching Marty's journey and fall throughout the film, who by the way is also a really well written and layered protagonist, was captivating, as was Timothée Chalamet's performance. We've known for a while that he can produce excellent performances, like his portrayal of Paul Atreides in the Dune movies, but he knocks this role especially out of the park. It's not only the best performance in his career, but also in my opinion the best lead performance from an actor that we've seen all year. He nails every trait of the character, from his cocky, ambitious and egotistical side seen at the beginning of the film, to his slimier and more pathetic side that comes out more later as things keep going wrong. Great stuff. The editing and direction here is also pretty damn good, particularly in the actual table tennis scenes, which had me on the edge of my seat. The final match, coupled with the scene that immediately precedes it, make for a fantastic ending, and a great capstone to one of the best films of the year. If I had to raise one complaint with the film, it's that I do think it drags a little bit towards the middle, but that's only a minor issue. Overall, this film rocks. And now we get into the true cream of the crop in terms of this year's film releases. All 4 of the films I have ranked at the top of this list would belong in S tier if I were ranking these on a tier list. The true all-time bangers this year has given us. Starting off with Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. This was another film I was anticipating this year, and boy did it meet my expectations. Obviously being an adaptation of the famous Mary Shelley novel, the film tells a very compelling story, with fully realized and developed characters who are brought to life with some stellar performances. Oscar Isaac is great as the titular Victor Frankenstein, and Mia Goth does a good job too as Elizabeth. But by far the highlight of the film was Jacob Elordi as the creature. This performance is not just the best performance in the film, and not just the best supporting actor performance of the year. It might straight up be the best acting performance of the entire year. Elordi is excellent in this, portraying Frankenstein's monster brilliantly across all stages of his development, really selling the physicality of the character, especially in his early scenes. It's phenomenal. The makeup job on the creature is also spectacular, as is the makeup throughout the entire movie. The costume design stands out as brilliant too, and the production design is once again the best of the entire year. All the sets in the movie look fantastic, particularly Victor's lab and the ship seen at various points throughout the film, which I still can't believe they built the whole of for real. Additionally, as expected from a Del Toro film, the direction and cinematography are great. Altogether, the technical elements of the film are in a league of their own, and combined with the great story, they make for a masterpiece of a film, and easily Netflix's best release in years. A worthy film for the number 4 spot on my list. Chances are, if you're watching this video, that you've probably never heard of this movie. So it may come as a surprise to you when I tell you that this relatively unheard of movie in the West is actually the highest grossing animated film of all time, the 5th highest grossing film of all time, and currently the highest grossing film of 2025. Yeah, this movie you likely only heard about for the first time a few seconds ago has made more money than the massively successful Lilo & Stitch remake and the Minecraft movie combined, and is expected to gross more than Zootropolis 2, the current highest grossing American film of the year, and potentially even the newest Avatar. It has made more money than Star Wars The Force Awakens, Avengers Infinity War, and Spider-Man No Way Home, and was only $14 million away from outgrossing Titanic. In total, it made $2.2 billion at the box office, which is astronomical. And yet, despite this massive gross, nobody has heard of this movie. Fortunately, there's an easy explanation as to why. See, Ne Zha 2 is a Chinese film, being based on the popular character of the same name from Chinese mythology. And these movies are huge in their home country. With this in mind, given how many people live in China, it's no surprise that it made so much money from just that one market alone. Its success is the first time a non-American film has earned the title of the highest grossing film of its respective year, since Demon Slayer the movie Mugen Train in 2020. So, while you may not have heard of it from living in a Western country, overseas, this film was the talk of the town. But is it good though? Is Ne Zha 2 worth its hype and crazy box office intake? Absolutely yes, this film slaps so hard. It blows the already pretty solid Ne Zha 1 out the water in every possible way, and puts most other animated films to shame. For starters, the story is great. It starts out pretty decent in the first half, but like everything else in the film, it gets turned up to 11 in the second half, and proves to be very compelling, tackling many themes, but mainly that of oppression. The characters are all well written, including the brand new villain this film introduces, who is one of my favourite antagonists I've seen all year. The score and animation are also highlights of the film, and huge improvements over how they were in Ne Zha 1. But the main reason I love this film so much and think it's one of the greatest films of the year is its action. The fight scenes in this are incredible. The choreography and camera movement are stellar, and they make for some of the most electric action scenes in any film. I was on the edge of my seat for every single one of them, and especially during the film's climax. Dear Lord, the final act of this movie might just be the most exciting climax in any animated film. Perhaps even in any film I've seen in general. It's so huge in scale, it's constantly action-packed, it does a great job at concluding the themes of the film, and it delivers some of the most hype moments in any film this year. If you haven't seen the Ne Zha films before, do yourself a favour and please check them out after this video. They might be a little difficult to find, but if you're able to watch them, they are well worth giving a try. In conclusion, Ne Zha 2 was one of the best and most thrilling films of 2025 in my opinion. It deserves its enormous success and then some. It was almost ranked even higher at number 2 on this list, though ultimately, I decided to give that spot to another movie I adored this year that I thought was just a little better. Bugonia is, in my opinion, the most underrated film of 2025. Because while most people who've seen it seem to have liked it, not enough people are talking about how it might be one of the best films of the entire year. It tells the story of two working-class conspiracy theorists who kidnap the CEO of a major company who they believe is secretly an alien, set on destroying the world. And there is so much to love about it. To begin with, the visuals of the film are fantastic. The cinematography is really unique, and combined with the great lighting, it makes for a movie that's a real treat to look at. The direction is strong throughout, as are all the actors' performances. Emma Stone is fantastic as always as the cold and calculated CEO of the boys kidnap, probably being my favourite lead actress performance this year. Arguably, even more significant than Stone though, is Jesse Plemons as the main conspiracy theorist. I'm shocked that he isn't being considered more in this awards season, because his performance is magnificent. He delivers so many of his lines in a way that makes you feel intensely uncomfortable, in the best possible way. Additionally, the story and characters in this are excellent. The main theme the film explores is that of class divide, which it explores very effectively, and each of the characters do a great job of tying into this theme. The CEO obviously represents the disconnect between the rich and the poor, and how much the rich look down on those beneath them. And the working class conspiracy theorist represents just how far gone and abhorrent someone can become underneath a rigid class system. It's all helped by a phenomenal script, with some excellent dialogue that kept me engaged the whole way through. I especially love Emma Stone's dialogue in this, and how she approaches every conversation as if it's a business meeting. Again, conveying that disconnect her character has from reality. All in all, Bugonia is incredible. Such a fantastic film that should have gotten way more buzz when it released. Only one other film released this year was able to top it. And if you're someone who's kept up with film releases over the past 12 months, chances are you may have a pretty good idea of what that film is. We've finally reached the end of the ranking. Finally, it's time to talk about what is, in my opinion, the best movie to release in 2025. One battle after another. If you've seen this movie, it should come as no surprise to you that I have it ranked so highly. It's simply outstanding, not just being my favorite film of this year, but also one of my top 5 films of the 2020s so far. It excels at everything it tries to do. The direction and cinematography here are the best of the entire year. There are so many brilliant shots here, it'd be a difficult task to name them all. The editing on display is great, and the score is simply fantastic, adding an excellent rhythm to a perfectly paced movie. The cast are all consistently fantastic too. Leonardo DiCaprio is unsurprisingly great, but someone who came out of complete nowhere in this film was Chase Infinity. Like with Miles Keaton in Sinners, this was her first ever film role, and she did not pull any punches with this debut performance. Benicio del Toro gives a pretty entertaining supporting performance, and on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, Sean Penn gives an intimidating, yet equally pathetic performance as the film's main antagonist. Lastly, there's Teyana Taylor, who despite not being in the film all that much, manages to leave a very significant impact on the viewer. In a year that's given us a ton of great supporting actress performances, she might just be the best one out of the bunch. Where the movie succeeds the most, though, is obviously with its great story. Taking place in a fascist America where the military terrorizes any immigrant or non-white person they come across, a setting which totally has absolutely zero resemblance to modern-day America whatsoever, the movie follows an ex-revolutionary trying to rescue his daughter from the clutches of an evil colonel he's crossed paths with in the past. It's a plot that's equally as riveting as it is topical, tackling the importance of resistance and hope in the face of military violence and fascism, all while developing an extremely well-written cast of characters. In my opinion, the best written character in the film is probably its villain, Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw, who's such an effective representation of how venomous and simultaneously pathetic white supremacists can be. Bob also serves as an endearing lead character, and his daughter Willa goes through a subtle but powerful character arc of realizing that things are only going to get better if people like her act now. Additionally, despite being a mostly serious film, it's also got a ton of great jokes and funny gags. In fact, it might be the funniest film I've seen this year, even more so than some of the more comedy-focused films. Overall, One Battle After Another easily takes the top spot on this list as the best film of 2025. It's a movie that I'm sure we'll still be discussing for many years to come, given how relevant it is to the current state of the world, and also because of its sheer quality as a film. It's hard to imagine any upcoming films from 2026 topping it anytime soon, though I suppose only time will tell whether this next year of film will be able to match the extreme heights of cinema in 2025. So yeah, that was my list for the year. Hopefully I didn't have too many opinions you disagreed with or placements that left you baffled. As I've mentioned many times already, 2025 has truly been a great year for cinema, though I am also looking forward to seeing what 2026 has to offer in terms of its new releases. With some of the most anticipated movies of the decade coming out soon, like The Odyssey or Dune Part 3, it seems like we may be in for another great year of movies, all of which I will hopefully cover in next year's ranking. For now though, I just want to say that if you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. Please consider leaving a like if you enjoyed it and subscribing for more film-related content in the future. Be sure to drop your rankings of the films you saw this year in the comments below, and tell me what your favourite film of 2025 was.